All right, so let's go through some of the things we'll need. You need something to heat your lead in. I have this little pot. I've had it for years. You can see how rusty it is. It works great. I forget how much they were, but got it at Gander Mountain, so you can tell how long ago that was. I heat the lead up. It's got a little arm on here that lifts up when I put the mold underneath it, and I pour these bars of ingots, we call them, for putting in here. Once this gets warmed up, I'll start sticking the lead in there. So that's the first thing. You need something to heat your lead up. All right, so you need a mold. I have drop shot sinker molds. You'll see the cavities in there. These molds are the same, but I actually modified this one, so I drilled it out with a drill press to make it bigger. So these are 1.5, 1.25, and 1 ounce. You can see this is the same thing, but I put on a drill press. So if you want heavier sinkers, just do that, and you got some heavier ones, because Lake Erie, we need those heavier sinkers. You need a pair of pliers to get the sinkers out of the mold. You need a spoon or something to scrape the slag out of your pot. Once that slag starts, you got to get rid of it because it won't go through. Pineapple heads for drop shot, it's imperative. Some more ingots to put in. A candle, something to light it with. And I'll explain that too. A breather, or be in a very well ventilated area. Very important. Lead fumes are deadly. Pair of gloves, get lead on your hand, you'll never forget it. My box of extra stuff, and a torch or something to heat your mold up with. You want your mold super hot before you pour your lead into it. All right, here's a little trick before you get started. Take a candle, let that black smoke from the candle cover all the cavities in your mold. So when you pour the lead won't stick. Do both sides. Do all of your molds like this, and you'll have less hassle. Make sure it's nice and dark, and candles are cheap. And so you not only use your candle to help, I don't know, season your mold, I suppose we'll call it, but you also add a little to the pot, and it burns off all that extra slag. So that's a biggie right there. All right, so make sure that as your lead is heating up, whether it's in a big pot, one like mine, is get rid of the slag. You need to get rid of all that junk that's on top there, because it won't go through and pour well. So what you want to do is, after you do that, take a couple pieces of wax, throw them in there. It should start on fire here any second now, and it will purify more of that, get rid of more of the slag. It'll burn right off, and then you're ready to pour. All right, these are pineapple heads. These are going to go into the mold, and you can see there's a round end and there's a pointed end. It's very important. The pointed end is for your line. That is where your line goes through, and you don't have to tie a knot. You put it through there, pull it snug, and you don't have to tie a knot. That's the nice part for me, being an old guy, is that I don't have to tie knots anymore. So when we put them in the mold, we have to make sure that they go the right way. Those are swivels, so that when that you're drop shotting or dragging them along, those things spin. The cylinder part is the swivel. So the circle's going to go inside the mold, and that's the way we get started. Let's take a look. All right, so here comes the tricky part, is putting the pineapple heads in the mold. Make sure you tip your molds at an angle, because these things will have a tendency to fall. You can do it with your fingers, because the mold isn't hot yet. But once this mold gets hot, you got to make sure you don't touch it. You will burn your fingers. And like I said, put the gloves on, but my molds aren't hot yet, so I'm doing it this way. Make sure, as I said before, the point goes out of the mold, the circle goes in. Because once again, these are little swivels on here. They swivel, and they help you when you're fishing, drop shot, and you're shaking it a lot, and it's moving all over the place. So we're going to get those in there. All right, now very carefully close your mold and make sure that it's tight. If you see any gaps along here, it's not right. So this thing isn't hot yet. I'm going to put my gloves on in a second here. I'm going to close this one up because I only use the first 3 cavities, because I got my 1.5 ounces, 1.25, and 1 ounce in there. I'm going to close this up. I'll know if those are in line. Yep, everything's square away. All right, now for the first pour, you got to make sure that your mold is hot. So you take your torch, put it in all the holes right here, heat the sides. After you do it a few times, you don't need to worry about warming it up, because the mold will be super hot by that time. So just make sure it's hot. Once you got enough heat in there, it doesn't take much. Turn your torch off. Get it out of your way. Make sure you got a glove on. And I'm gonna fill each cavity. Whoops, missed it, there we go. Because the first ones, even though I didn't use them, I'm heating them up, heating the mold up. Fill each one right up to the top. You'll see it come out. It's great shape, doesn't take long for it to harden. Open it up, take your pair of pliers, and there you go. All ready to go. It's the keys. Roosters are always around. Now, one thing that I do is on some of the ones that I might want to have heavier sinkers, I leave this part on. I might chop it off. I have a pair of Nipex in my boat so I can make my sinkers any weight they want. So some of the smaller ones, I'll leave that on until I decide. So here's a bigger one right here. You see that? I'll either leave it on or chop it off as needed. So let's go to the bigger mold and I'll show you what's going on with that. All right, so here's a little trick. If you don't have a map torch or anything to heat your mold up other than this, I only put pineapples in the first 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and I'm going to pour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I've got them in only the last 3. I'm gonna let it sit for a second because that lead's gonna heat up the mold. And then I'm gonna pour the last 3. 1, 2, and 3. Nope, a little bit more. So there we go. That's the way to do it. Open it up. You got beautiful drop shot sinkers waiting to go. Also remember, when you have the ones that you just used to heat up your mold, put them back in your pot. They will melt and you'll be able to use that lead all over again. This one looks small, and like I said, I leave this little part on the end right here just in case I want more lead. Another weight, say I run out of my favorite weight and I've got that on there, I can use that for, say, a 1/2 ounce. So take the ones that are bad, check them out, and throw the old ones back in the pot. All right, so hey, hope you learned a lot on that. It's a long process, but if you do it right, you will save yourself tons of money. Now here's a finished product right here. Here's a drop shot sinker, the pineapple head right here. This works. The pineapple heads are phenomenal for drop shot sinkers if you've never done it before. The line goes through that little point you made right there. It's kind of reminds me of that old thing my mom used to make me do with a thread and a needle for her. But it goes through there and it just locks into place. So like I said, old guy like me has to keep tying knots. This is phenomenal. It comes off just like that too. It's incredible. So what I did on my molds, as I showed you earlier, is I drilled a duplicate mold of the one that produces. This was the biggest one, and I made it this. So I took like, I don't know what this is, maybe 3/4, and I made it 1.5 ounces by just a drill press. So it was an easy fix and works great. It works great. Remember safety features when you're doing this. Keep your ventilated area, blacken the mold with the soot from the candle. Make sure your mold is heated up. It'll pour really, really easy. So, hey, anyway, I'm down in the Keys. I hope the wind lays down so I can go fishing tomorrow, because that's why I came down here. But I'm not gonna waste time. I saved myself about, you know what? At the end of the year, when I tie my walleye harnesses and my sinkers, I save about $500, and that's a lot of bottom line when you do it for a living. So anyway, hey folks, enjoy all this beautiful creation and take a moment to look up and give thanks. I'm Captain Jim. I'll see you next time.